Hi all, welcome to Calent IAS. Okay, so this is an orientation session with regard to Botany Optional. Okay, as you all know, in CSE and in Indian Forest Service exam, Botany is an optional subject. Okay, and you all know what is the importance of an optional subject. Okay, so in CSE, where 500 marks you get from this optional paper, okay, and in Indian Forest Service 400 mark. So your goal, if you are preparing for UPSC exam, what could be your goal? Your goal is to score maximum marks in your optional subject as well as in GS. Okay, so while you are preparing for UPSC, one of your major goal is that you have to keep your goal that you have to score maximum mark in your optional paper, and you have to score maximum mark in your GS paper as well. Okay, so this could be your goal, right? So here we Gallant IAs are introducing you botany as an optional. Okay, so if we are introducing botany as an optional subject, you might have think why botany. Okay, so these are the advantages of botany optional. Okay, so need of background. Okay, while we are selecting an optional subject, we have to focus on certain things. Okay, one is the need of background. Okay, so if you are a graduate in botany or in zoology or in any other science stream with related to botany or zoology, uh, botany is an effective optional for you. Okay, so need of background. So if you are a graduate in botany, zoology or in any other science stream and you have an interest in studying botany as an optional subject, definitely you can take. Okay, so in your graduation time you have mostly gone through this most of the topics which is been mentioned in the syllabus, so it is very effective for you if you guys are having a background in your graduation or in your post-graduation level in botany or in related science subjects. You can choose this botany as your optional subject. Okay, and scoring potential. Okay, while looking on to an optional, we might have think, is that optional is scoring or not? Okay, definitely botany is also a highly scoring optional subject. The reason is that most of the questions which is being asked in the exam, which is very direct in nature. Okay, so botany is a highly scoring potential optional subject, and most of the questions which is being asked in the mains exam, which is direct in nature. Okay, and the syllabus, while looking on to the syllabus, where the entire syllabus which is being divided into paper 1 and paper 2. On paper 1 there is 5 units, and in paper 2 there is 5 units. Altogether there are 10 units are there. Looking on to this syllabus, where the topics which is being mentioned in the syllabus that you have covered, if you have a background in botany or in other related science subjects, most of the topics which is being mentioned in the syllabus that you have already studied in your graduation level. Okay, so the syllabus which is a moderate level syllabus, and if you are opting botany as an optional subject, you can score well with the help of figures and diagrams. Okay, botany, where anatomical questions can be asked in your botany topics, where you can score with figures and diagrams. Okay, and since it is a science subject, most of the questions which are very direct in nature. Okay, we will go through the previous year question, so at that time it will be more clear for you. Okay, since it is a science subject, most of the questions which are very direct in nature, and there is no interpretation of examiner point of view. Most of the questions which are very direct in nature. Okay, so these are the things that you have to be have to be taken in mind while you have been selecting an optional. Okay, so I mentioned that in botany the scoring potential is high. Okay, so to score well in your optional paper, you have to present your answers in an effective manner, then only you can score. Okay, so it means the only way of communication between you and the examiner is the answers you have been written there. Okay, so to score well in your optional paper or to score well in your GS papers, what you have to you have to do that you have to complete the paper and the presentation, how you present the and how you present the question or how you present the answer, which is very much important when coming to mains. Okay, so scoring potential which is very high, and how to present your answers. This is one of the most important thing that you have been noticed. Okay, if you have been taken botany as an optional subject, this is the most important thing, how you present your answer. Okay, so this is very much important, how you presenting your answer, which is very much important. Okay, so first thing is complete the paper. Okay, so while looking on to the optional paper, where on the instructions page, where you can see that altogether from out of 8 questions we need to write only 5. Okay, so complete the paper means you have to you have to complete the paper. Okay, so while looking on to the optional paper, where the entire optional paper 1, which is been subdivided into section A and section B. Okay, so and on section A there could be 4 questions, and on section B there could be 4 questions. Altogether 8 questions will be there. Out of that 8 questions, you have to be write only 5. Okay, and in section A and section B, the first question. Okay, in section A, which has been divided into 1 to 4 questions, and the first question of section A, which is question number 1, and the first question of section B, which is question number 5. So this question number 1 and question number 5, which is compulsory in nature. Okay, so the section first question of section A and the first question of section B, which is compulsory in nature. So 2 questions you already written there, and rest of the 3 that you can be choose from section A and section B. Okay, so that is what completing the paper, answer all the questions. Okay, so answers precise and to the point. So how you present your answer. Okay, so if we are looking on to the questions in optional paper, there could be 10 mark question, 15 mark question, and 20 mark questions will be there. Okay, and the way of presentation is very much important. Okay, so there could be time limit, there will be time limit is there to complete a 10 mark question, 15 mark question, and 20 mark question. There is a time limit. Okay, so you have to complete. If you need to complete the paper, you have to write that particular question in time. Okay, so here answer precise and to the point. So to complete the paper in time, you have to answer, you have to present your answers in a very precise manner and to the point. Okay, and the third thing is identify the demand of the question. Okay, so identify the demand of the question means, so while looking, this is the last year question. Okay, this is the last year botany optional paper, and looking on to the questions, hope you can see that. Looking on to the questions, okay, hope you can see the question. Looking on to the question, so here this is the first question. Okay, how many types of gametophytes are found in Lycopodium? What is the difficulty to collect such prothalae in nature? Okay, so I mentioned that identify the demand of the question. So that is the most important thing while you are answering a question in your optional paper or in your GS. This is the most important thing, that is, if you're writing an answer, you have to identify the demand of the question. Identify the demand of the question. Okay, so identifying the demand of the question means firstly you have to analyze the question. Okay, so here first, if we have taken this as an example, how many types of gametophytes are found in Lycopodium? So that is the first part, right? How many types of gametophytes are found in Lycopodium? So this is the first part, and the second part is what is the difficulty to collect such prothalae in nature. Okay, so here this second part is been asking that what is the difficulty to collect such prothalae of Lycopodium. Okay, so this is the question. So here this 10 mark question which having 2 parts. Okay, to score well in this question, you have to address both the part, right? If you are only addressing this part, you will get the mark you get out of 5 only. Okay, if you addressing both the part, then if you are addressing this question in a well manner, out of 10 you can score up to 5 to 6. Okay, so that is the maximum mark you get from this particular question. So identifying the demand of the question and try to meet the demand of the question, that is very much important in your optional paper as well as in your GS paper. Okay, so look on to the second question here also. How does heterosis differ from vegetative cell? Okay, this second question is, how does heterosis cell differ from vegetative cell? Mention the factors controlling its formation and add a note on the functions of heterosis. Okay, so here also you have to identify the demand of the question. So this is a 10-mark question, and here this question which having 2 to 3 parts. Okay, to score well in this question, you have to address the demand of the question. So first part is addressing what does heterosis how does heterosis differ from vegetative cell. So on the first part, you have to differentiate between the heterosis cell. You have to differentiate between the heterosis cell and the vegetative cell. So you have to give the differences between the heterosis cell and the vegetative cell. Okay, and second part is that you have to mention the factors controlling its formations. Okay, so what are the factors that controlling its formation, and what are the functions of heterosis? So here the question which having 3 parts. Okay, first is differentiate between heterosis cell and a normal vegetative cell, and the second part is mention the factors controlling its formation and add a note on functions on heterosis. Okay, what are the factors controlling its formation? So that is the second part, and the third part is functions of heterosis. Okay, to score well in this is also a 10-mark question, and here the question weightage is 5 and 5. Okay, to differentiate the differences between heterosis and a vegetative cell, the weightage is 5, and for the factors controlling the formation of heterosis cell and the functions of heterosis, that 2 part which carrying a weightage of 5. Okay, so each carrying 2.5 for each part. Okay, so this is the way that you have to meet the demand of the question. If you are failed to address any part of this question, then so for example, if you are not addressing the second and third part, here the mark is out of 5 only. Okay, so that is what in means, or in, especially in your GS and in your optional paper, addressing or meeting the demand of the question, or addressing the demand of the question is very much important. Okay, I'm not entering into all questions, just to keep in mind that identifying the demand of the question means you have to read the question, or you have to analyze the question carefully, and then you have to address all the parts of that particular question. Okay, and effective utilization of space, and the fourth thing is that effective utilization of space. Okay, so with while meeting the demand of the questions, you can write the contents there. Along with that, if it is an anatomical questions, or in botany or in other science subject, if you are opting botany or any other science subject as your optional subjects, you have to present the answers with along with the contents, flowchart, diagrams, representations, and figures. So this will be an added advantage, and this will give you an value addition to your presentation. Okay, so effective utilization of the piece, along with the contents, you have to add flowcharts, diagrams, representations, and figure. That will be an added advantage. Okay, so this is the way how to present your answers. Okay, hope it's clear. So if you have any doubt with regard to the contents which we are delivering now, you can you are all free to ask. Okay, you can either shoot your contents on the chat box. I will go through it and will address your doubts. Okay. So this is the general outline with regard to botany optional, and next is the syllabus. Okay, so the entire syllabus which is been divided into paper 1 and paper 2. The first part or the first unit of paper 1, which is microbiology and plant pathology. So this is the first unit. Okay, so this is the first unit, microbiology and plant pathology. Microbiology and plant pathology. So looking on to the unit itself, it's having 2 headings. Okay, one is the microbiology part and other is the plant pathology part. Okay, so looking on to the syllabus. So this is the syllabus. So starting from the structure and multiplication of viruses, viroids, bacteria, fungi, mycoplasma, till important crop diseases caused by viruses, bacteria, mycoplasma, fungi and nematodes. This topics which is been coming under the microbiology part. This topics which is been coming under the microbiology part, from structure and reproduction to important diseases caused by the microorganisms. These are coming under the microbiology part, and on the pathology part, which is been starting from the modes of infection and dissemination through till plant quarantine, which is being coming under the plant pathology part. Okay, it is coming under the plant. It is been coming under the plant pathology part. So in paper 1, the entire syllabus which is been divided under two categories. One is the microbiology part and the second one is the plant pathology part. So here on the syllabus, where structure and reproduction of viruses, viroids, bacteria, fungi and mycoplasma, till the important crop diseases caused by viruses, bacteria, mycoplasma, fungi and nematodes, which is been coming under the microbiology part, and on to the pathology part, where modes of infection and dissemination, starting from modes of infection and dissemination to plant quarantine and control measures, which has been coming under the plant pathology part. So this is the first unit of paper 1. Okay. So next is the second unit, that is cryptograms. Even though it is a very concise unit, most of the questions from paper 1 which is been asking from this particular unit. So this is the one of the most important units of paper 1. Okay. So even though if you are looking on to the syllabus, you might have think that this is very concise unit. Okay. But under cryptogams, you need to study about algae, fungi, bryophyte and pteridophyte. So here it is been mentioning that algae, fungi, lichens, bryophyte, pteridophyte, structure and reproduction from evolutionary viewpoint, distribution of cryptogams in India, and their ecological and economic importance. So this is what mentioned in the syllabus. Okay, under the syllabus it is not mentioning that under algae you have to study this species. It is me not discussing like that. Okay, so just giving only a general idea with regard to the structure and reproduction. Okay, so you have to study while you are studying this cryptogams, you need to study algae in detail. Okay, so it is not mentioning any particular type of algal species, but the entire algal structure and their reproduction and their evolutionary viewpoint, their ecological and economic importance, all that you have to be studied under this. Okay. Likewise, under lichens, bryophyte and pteridophytes, their structure, their reproduction, their ecological and economic importance. Okay. So that is the reason I am saying that this is the most important unit in paper 1. Okay. So algae, fungi, lichens, bryophyte, pteridophytes and pteridophytes, their structure and reproduction, and their evolutionary viewpoint, their economic and ecological importance. Okay, so if a question is being asked in every means question, okay, while you are looking on to the questions of paper 1, on an average you get an 100 marks question from this particular unit. On an average you get 100 marks, on an average 100 mark questions from the cryptogams. Either from questions will be there in from algae, fungi, bryophyte and pteridophyte. Okay, so you get an 100 mark question. While analyzing the previous question, you get you go through this. Okay, so in every questions in paper 1, so looking on to the questions in paper 1, at least 100 mark question which is been asking from the cryptogams. So that is why I am mentioning that this is the most important unit. Okay. And unit 3, which is phanerogams. Okay. So under phanerogams, it has been subdivided into 4 different headings. So first topics which we are discussing under the phanerogam, which is gymnosperm, and these are the topics which is been mentioning under the gymnosperm: concept of progymnosperm, classification and distribution of gymnosperms, silent features, of cycadales, gingoids, coniferales and needles, their structure and their reproduction, general account of zygodophilicales, benitales and corditales, geological time scale, types of fossils and their study technique. Okay, so these are the things that is been mentioning under the gymnosperms. And the species, the most important species which we are discussing from gymnosperms are cycas. Okay, so why we are discussing these three species mainly means most of the questions from gymnosperms has been asking from this particular species only. Okay, cycas, pinus and neter. Okay, most of the questions with regard to the gymnosperms is coming from this three species: cycas, pinus and neter. Okay, so and there are silent features of zygodophilicales, zingoids, coniferales and needles, their structure and reproduction, general account of zygodophilicales, benitales and corditales, geological time scale, types of fossils and their study techniques. Okay, so these are the contents which has been coming under the subheading gymnosperms. Okay. And the second part of phanerogams, which is angiosperms. Under angiosperms, you need to study about the systematics, anatomy, embryology, palynology, and phylogeny, and IZBN, numerical taxonomy and chemotaxonomy, and evidences from anatomy, embryology, and palynology. And origin and evolution of angiosperm, comparative account of various systems of classification of angiosperm. So this under the angiosperm, this is very much important, comparative account on various systems of classification of angiosperm. Okay, so the important systems of classifications of angiosperms that you have to be studied, there are important classification systems you might have seen. This is one of the most important area where the question which has been continuously asked from this part. Okay, so comparative account on the various systems of classification of angiosperms. Okay, classification of angiosperms is very much important, and from this area where you can see, if you are going through the previous questions, where you can see that most of the questions which has been coming from this angiosperm, that means the second subheading part of the phanerogams, most of the questions from this area is which has been asking from repetitive questions, which where you can see from the comparative account on various study of classification of angiosperms. Okay. And the third unit, which is phanerogams, and phanerogams, the third section, which is the study of angiospermic families, and these are the angiospermic families which is been mentioning in the syllabus. And while discussing about the angiospermic families, so these are the families: Magnoliaceae, Ranunculaceae, Brassicaceae, Rosaceae, Fabaceae, Euphorbiaceae, Malvaceae, Diptocarpaceae, Apiaceae, Asclepiadaceae, Verbinaceae, Solanaceae, Rubiaceae, Cucurbitaceae, Astraceae, Poaceae, Aracaceae, Liliaceae, Musaceae and Orchidaceae. So these are the families that you have to be studied. So here it's mentioning the study of angiospermic families only. Okay, so while we are analyzing the previous question, we get an idea about the questions which has been asking from this particular study of angiospermic families. Okay, most of the questions which has been asking in like this way, the identifying characters, identifying characters of the family. They are floral formula, and floral diagram. Okay, so this is a way the questions which has been asking there. So, and certain advanced families in dicot and in monocot, where the question is been asking like the advanced characters in Astraceae. Okay, Astraceae, which is the advanced family in dicot. So the questions which can be asking in similar way, that what are the advanced characters of Astraceae. Okay, so like this the question which has been asking, most of the questions which has been asking from this particular part is the identifying characters of the family, their floral formula and floral diagram. Okay, so this is the way. No need to discuss much detail into the anatomical or morphological features of these families. While analyzing the previous question, you get an idea where most of the questions which is been asking with regard to the identifying characters of the family, their floral formula and floral diagram. Okay, so the most of the questions which has been asking in this manner. Okay, so no need to go deep into the angiospermic families, just go through the families which is been mentioned there, their identifying characters and their floral formula, floral diagram is more than enough for this study of angiospermic families. And the fourth subdivision of the unit 3, that is stomata and their types, it's come in the topics which is been mentioning under this subheading, which is glandular and non-glandular trichomes, unusual secondary growth, anatomy of C3 and C4 plants, xylem and phloem differentiation, wood anatomy, development of male and female gametophytes, pollination, fertilization, endosperm, its development and function, patterns of embryo development, polyembryony and apomixis, applications of palynology, experimental embryology including pollen storage and test tube fertilization. So this is the topics which is been mentioning under the fourth part of phanerogams, and here this is the important thing, this development of male and female gametophytes, pollination, fertilization, endosperm. So along with that, the unusual secondary growth and the anatomy of C3 and C4 plants, glandular and non-glandular trichomes. This is the area from where the questions which has been continuously asking. Okay, so while analyzing the last 10-year questions, you get an idea about the questions. Okay, so since it is a science subject, the questions which is being repeatedly asked in multiple times or multiple years, the same question which is being asked. So while analyzing the last 10-year question, you will get an idea about this. Okay, and the fourth unit, which is plant resource development or the economic importance, plant resource development, or this is the economic important this unit which has been dealing with the economic importance of plants. Okay, so here these are the topics which has been mentioning under the syllabus, that is domestication and introduction of plants, origin of cultivated plants, valvular centers of origin, plant sources for food, food of fiber, spices, beverages, edible oil, drugs, narcotics, insecticides, timber, gums, resins and dyes, latex, cellulose starch and its products, perfumery, importance of ethnobotany in Indian context, energy plantations, botanical gardens and herbaria. So this is the topics which is been mentioning under the unit 4 of paper 1. Okay, so this is the economic important economic botany related topics. So that is been mentioning giving under the heading plant resource development. And the last unit of paper 1, that is morphogenesis. The last unit of paper 1, that is morphogenesis. So here on morphogenesis, the topics which has been mentioning under morphogenesis or morphogenesis is the totipotency, polarity, symmetry and differentiation, cell, tissue, organ and protoplast culture, somatic, hybrids and hybrids, micropropagation, zomoclonal variation and its applications, pollen haploid, embryo rescue methods and their application. So this is the topics which has been coming under the morphogenesis part, where most of the questions from this area which has been asking from this protoplast culture, zomoclonal variation, its applications, pollen haploid, embryo rescue methods and their application. So from this area where the question, that doesn't mean that totipotency, polarity, symmetry and differentiation is not important. Most of the questions which has been multiple times asked from this, especially from this topics, and the question, definitely there are questions from this totipotency, polarity, symmetry and differentiation. And while discussing about this particular unit, give more emphasis to all the areas which is been mentioning here. It is a very concise unit, and you can complete the entire unit within a short span of time. And if a question is been asking from this part, definitely you can score well also. Okay, so this is also an important unit in paper 1, and you can study that topics which compared to the other units like plant resource development or phanerogams or cryptogams or microbiology or plant pathology. This is more concise one, and within a short span of time you can complete the entire unit morphogenesis. Okay, so these are the guidelines with regard to the paper 1. Okay, hope it's clear. If you have any doubt with regard to the syllabus discussion that we have gone through, you're all free to ask. Any doubts? Any doubts? Okay. So if you don't have any doubts, we'll go move on to the paper 2. The first unit of paper 2, which is cell biology, and here starting from the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell, structural and ultrastructural details, structure and function of extracellular matrix, cell wall and membrane, cell adhesion, membrane transport and vesicular transport, structure and function of cell organelles, chloroplast, mitochondria. So this is with regard to the cell organelles. Under cell organelles, you have to study the structure and function of cell organelles like chloroplast, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, dictyosomes, ribosomes, endosomes, lysosomes, peroxisomes, cytoskeleton, and microtubules, nucleus, nucleus, nucleolus, nuclear pore complex, chromatin and nucleosome, cell signaling and cell receptors, signal transduction, mitosis and meiosis, molecular basis of cell cycle, numerical and structural variations in chromosomes, their significance, chromatin organization and packaging of genome, polytene chromosome, B chromosome, structure, behavior and significance. So these are the topics which is been mentioning under the first unit of paper 1, that is cell biology, and all the topics which are important. And while looking on to the previous questions, you can see that most of the areas which is being covered through while you are analyzing the previous question, you get an idea how depth you need to prepare with regard to this particular unit, cell biology. Okay, so for analyzing, okay, if you are preparing alone, the most important thing that you have to be noted that firstly you have to go through the syllabus. So you have to read the syllabus thoroughly, and then you have to go through the last 10-year previous question. That will help you to get an effective idea about the questions, how the questions has been framing from each units. Okay, and you get, if you have an background in botany, you get an idea that these are the areas that you need to be focuses on you have to be focuses from each units. Okay, and second unit, which is genetics, molecular biology and evolution. So here the which having 3 sub unit 2 which have the genetics, molecular biology and evolution. So development of genetics up to cytoplasmic inheritance and cytoplasmic genes, including genetics of male sterility. So this part which is been coming under the topics which is been coming under the genetics parts, and structure and synthesis of nucleic acids and proteins, that is the transcription, translation and replication. So that is their structure and synthesis of nucleic acids and proteins, genetic code and regulation of gene expression, gene silencing and multi-gene families. This part which has been coming under the molecular biology. This has been coming under the molecular biology part, and the last part which is the evolution. So organic evolution, evidences, mechanism and theories, role of RNA in origin and evolution. So these are the evolution part. So looking on to this unit 2, where this unit 2 which is important, and the most important area where you need to focus is on this unit 2, which is the genetic part, starting from the development of genetics and up to cytoplasmic inheritance and cytoplasmic genes. This entire topics which is been coming under the genetic part, so that is very much important. Okay. And the third unit, which is plant breeding, biotechnology and biostat. So here also the entire unit which having subdivided into three, which is plant breeding, biotechnology and biostat. So methods of plant breeding and uses of apomixes in plant breeding. So this has been coming under the plant breeding part, and DNA sequencing, genetic engineering, methods of transfer, and up to PCR and fish, which has been coming under the biotechnology part. This topics which has been coming under the biotechnology part, this has been coming under the plant breeding part. And from standard deviation to correlation and regression, this areas which has been coming under the biostat part. Okay, so here all the parts are important, and while looking on to the previous question, you will get an idea about the questions which has been asking from plant breeding, biotech and biostat. And the last the second last unit, which is been from the paper 2, which is the physiology and biochemistry. So this is the most important unit from paper 2. So from photosynthesis, starting from photosynthesis and ending in fruit ripening, its molecular basis and manipulation. So this the entire topics which is been mentioning in this unit 4, which is important. Okay, so I didn't say that this is important, this is not important. The entire topics which is been mentioning under this unit 4, which is important. And while looking on to the previous year questions, you can see that from every topics which is been mentioning in the syllabus, you can see a previous year question. So this is the most important unit from paper 2. Okay, so this physiology and biochemistry, this is the most important unit from paper 2. And the last unit which has been coming under the paper 2, which is ecology and plant geography. And these are the topics which has been mentioning under the ecology and plant geography. So concept of ecosystem, ecological factors, concept and dynamics of community, plant succession, concept of biosphere ecosystem, conservation, pollution and its control, including phytoremediation, plant indicators, and forest types of India, Environment Protection Act, ecological and economic importance of forest, afforestation, deforestation and social forestry, endangered plants, endemism, IUCN categories, red data books, biodiversity and its conservation, protected area network, conservation of biological diversity, farmers' right, intellectual property rights, concept of sustainable development, biogeochemical cycles, global warming and climate change, invasive species, environment impact assessment, phytogeographical regions of India. So these are the topics which is been mentioning under this ecology. And if you are opting botany as an optional subject, the only area that is been overlapping with your prelims and your mains is the ecology part. Okay, so under the ecology part, you have to discuss all in detail. So this is the only area where you get an advantage while it comparing with your prelims and your GS papers. This is the only area where you get an advantage if you are in with relate to botany. Okay, so your prelims and your mains preparation with regard to the environmental part will be covered under this particular unit. Okay, so that's all about the syllabus discussion. We have gone through the units of paper 1 and paper 2. And if you have any general doubts with regard to the sessions that we have covered, you are all free to ask. Okay, you can ask your comments in the chat box. I will go through it and will reply to all. Okay, so if you have any doubt, you're all free to ask. Just ask your comments or just shoot your doubts on your comment box. I will go through it. With regard to the contents which we have discussed, or if you have any doubts with regard to the general preparation in botany optional, if you have any doubt, you can ask. I will go through it. Okay. So we are moving to the last part. So what are the highlights of opting botany in Gallant IAS? So here the classes which has been aligned to the UPSC requirement, and the classes which has been strictly aligned to the UPSC syllabus, and starting from the basics like a fresher friendly structure which has been developed through our classes, so it is more effective for all. Discussion of previous year questions, and discussion of previous year question will be there, so it will give you a better understanding of the subject. Practice questions and test PYQs will help to develop your answer writing skills. So after completing every unit, we will conducting the unit wise test, and after completing every modules of each unit, we will provide you the previous year questions with from those modules, so that will help you to get a more holistic idea about answer writing and their importance. Okay, and high quality class notes, material, and so there are certain questions with regard to the test series. So if you are opting, so that I am coming to that point, if you are taking an optional from Gallant IAS, where along with the class notes and study materials will be provided, and 10 unit wise test and 2 full tests will be included in the course. 10 unit wise test means 10 unit wise test will covering the entire units of paper 1 and paper 2, and there will be a 2 full tests and 1 test which is been from paper 1 and the other test which is from paper 2, and on the lines of the UPSC examination, and personal mentoring at affordable fee. Okay, with a focused steady steady schedule, will I be able to score good without coaching? I'm a botany graduate pursuing PG in genetics and in plant breeding. Okay, so I already mentioned that if you have very good knowledge in botany, or if you are very having a good understanding in botany, definitely you can prepare without the help of the coaching institute. Okay, so that is one of the advantage of botany optional. The thing is that you have, it will take lot of time. Okay, if you are opting, and if you are opting botany from a particular institution, all the contents with regard the material, the study classes, and the tests all will be included on that particular packages, so that is more easier for you. Okay, that doesn't mean that you can't prepare by your own. If you have much knowledge in botany, definitely you can prepare by your own by analyzing the previous year question. So that is the important thing that I am mentioning, that while analyzing the last 10-year question, you will get an idea about that. Okay, so analyzing the 10-year question, you will get an idea. If you have clear-cut knowledge about the subject, you get an idea. These are the areas that has to be focuses from every units of paper 1 and paper 2. Okay, so that idea you will get by analyzing the last 10-year previous year question. So definitely you can prepare your own, but it's a time consuming process. On my experience, I would say that if you are preparing by your own, mostly it takes around more than 1 year that you have to be needed to collect all the notes with regard to the topics, and to to adjust with the UPSC standards, it requires some time. That is the things that if you can preparing by your own, give focuses on to the study materials, that keep in mind that you have the entire study materials with you, and after completing the revision process and all those things, you can take a test, you can take a good test series from any of the institutes which has been providing the botany optional test series. Okay, so definitely you can study by your own. Okay, and the other question is, will the questions be more on application based? The application based questions are comparatively less, and while looking on to the previous year questions, you will get an idea about that. Most of the questions which are very direct in nature. Okay, the application based questions which are comparatively less. So in certain areas where it can be asked, and most of the questions which is been asking and the exam is directly from the syllabus set itself. Okay, so and most of the questions which are very direct in nature, so you can write in an easier manner. Okay, any other doubts? So I don't have any base on botany. If I take botany, can I? The last comment is, so I don't have any base on botany. If I take botany, can I? Okay, so I would say that at least you need a background in your +2 level or in your higher secondary level. At least you have a background in your higher secondary level, and you have an interest in studying botany as an optional subject. Definitely you can take that. My personal suggestion is that if you are a graduate in botany or related science stream, okay, I'm especially saying that if you are a graduate in botany or in other related science streams, it is more helpful for you. Okay, if you have base only on your +2 level, compared to the other students. Okay, most of the students who are opting for botany, which having either background in their graduation or in a post graduation, or they have a background in the other related science subjects. Okay, so they have an added advantage comparing to the guy who have been taken botany from the higher secondary level, compared to the rest of the students. The rest of the students which will have the botany as a graduation subject, they have an added advantage. So my personal suggestion is that if you have a graduation in your botany or related science stream, then this could be this is one of the most helpful optional paper of optional subject for you. Okay, any other doubts? Any other doubts? Hope I have gone through all the questions which has been asked in the comment box. Other than this, any other doubts? So you can go through any standard textbooks for every unit. So there is no such particular text for covering all the units of paper 1 and paper 2. For every units you can refer any standard textbook. Okay, most of the contents which are same in nature, and you can either go through the Indian authors books or you can go through the foreign authors book. Any standard textbook is recommended for preparation. Okay, so the thing is that if you are preparing by your own, and you have a better collection of all this textbooks with regard. That means there are 10 units are there. The 10 units will be in on the contents of the contents. You need to refer different textbooks. Any standard textbooks is recommended. Either the foreign author or Indian author books are recommended. Okay, so if you need a detailed uh, textbook list, you can message me after the sessions. You can either message me or you can contact the office. I will share the textbook list with you. Okay, any standard textbook is recommended. Any other doubts? I hope I have gone through the chat box and I have answered all the questions which has been asked in the comment box. Any other questions is there? So do you have any other doubts other than the questions which is been asked in the chat box? Do you have any other doubts? So if you don't have any doubts, can I wind up the session for the time being? And I hope that all your doubts has been cleared. And if you have any doubts with regard to your botany optional preparation, you are all free to ask. You can either contact to the office number or you can directly contact me. Okay. Thank you all.